So I'll be preaching a message for a few minutes or a few hours, depending on what mood I'm in today, entitled, Our Clean Little Secret. Our Clean Little Secret. Who's our? The Jewish people. Yo soy judío. I am a Jew. Despite the fact that I don't look like a Jew, sometimes I look more Italian than I look Jewish. He's an Italian. Italian. So, our Jewish people, meaning my Jewish people's, clean little secret. The reason I call it a clean little secret is because at some point, the Jewish people kept this truth, but then when Yeshua came to fulfill the suffering servant scriptures of Isaiah, Yeshayahu 53, it became a secret because they don't want Jews saying, their Jewish followers saying, what is Yeshua doing in my Bible? And so the Jewish people have made this like a little secret, and not only that, they've even twisted the meaning in Isaiah in Yeshayahu 53. Wow. So let's look at Yeshayahu 53. And I may access these passages a lot. I may not access them that much, because you should know most of them in Yeshayahu, Isaiah 53. So I'm not going to go verse by verse as much as I like to. That's exegetical teaching. How many are ready to receive the word of Yahweh?
Amen. Amen.
Let's try that side of the room. How many are ready to receive the word of Yahweh? Amen. And a few on this side of the room too. That's tough. Modern Judaism insists that the Jewish people, especially the Jewish leaders, never believe, listen, that Yeshayahu, Isaiah 53, speaks of the Messiah. They claim that Isaiah 53 speaks of the nation of Israel. And that Isaiah 53 never spoke about the Mashiach. But there's a clean little secret. And that clean little secret is that the original rabbis, before Yeshua and even 600 years after Yeshua, all with almost one accord and one unanimous voice, believe that Yeshayahu 53, Isaiah 53, was in fact speaking about Moshiach.
Amen.
Now, understand that in Judaism today, there are two tracks or two lines of thinking about the Messiah. The first line of thinking, they see some scriptures that say the Messiah will rule and will reign. Those are the ruling scriptures, so they say that pertains to Mashiach ben David, Messiah, son of David. Then on the other hand, the very next verse, they see a verse that says he'll die, he'll suffer, he'll die, he'll bleed, he'll suffer, blah, blah, blah. And so they're saying, So the suffering Mashiach is Mashiach ben Yosef, or the son of Joseph, because like his father Joseph in Egypt, in Mitzrayim, he will suffer like his father suffered in Mitzrayim. And so the rabbis today, the modern rabbis, have come up with what they call the two Mashiach theory, two Messiah theory. That is because they refuse to accept Yeshua, who is both Mashiach ben David and Mashiach ben Yosef, one Mashiach in two separate comings. The first time to come as Mashiach ben Yosef, the suffering Mashiach. The second time to come as Mashiach ben David, the ruling and reigning. But there's only one Mashiach, there's only one Son of Yahweh in two separate missions to this earth. Talk to me, somebody. But the rabbis know they have to find a way to reconcile these two apparent lines or tracts or contradictions. So they say that Yahweh, or they say Hashem, has two Moshiachs. Moshiach ben Yosef, the sufferer, who will die in the last war, and rise again, of course. And then Moshiach ben David, the ruling Mashiach. So there's a clean little secret in our camp. Because most of the rabbis knew that Isaiah 53 did not, does not, and will never speak of Israel as a nation. Today, the modern rabbinic interpretation of Yeshayahu 53 is that it speaks of the nation of Israel and the suffering of the nation of Israel. That it is a corporate thing, that Israel was wounded for the Gentiles. Israel suffers for the Gentiles. Israel is Yahweh's suffering righteous servant to bring righteousness to the Gentiles. And so when you speak to the anti-missionaries today, the anti-missionaries say that Yeshayahu 53, that Nazarene Israelites like us, or Messianic believers, we twist the scriptures. That the Jewish people know, because allegedly they know the Bible better than we do, the Jewish people know that Isaiah Yeshayahu 53 is really talking about the nation of Israel suffering for the sins of the world. Really? Well, today I'm going to bring out that clean little secret, Britt. Are you with me? Today I'm going to bring out that clean little secret that that is a lie from the pit of hell, and that that is absolutely not true. Where did this idea of Isaiah Yeshayahu 53 being the nation of Israel come from? I'll tell you where. It's a Middle Age idea that started in the Middle Ages in 1040 with a rabbi by the name of Rashi. It sounds like the English word, I'm scratching because I have a Rashi, okay? But it's not pronounced Rashi, it's pronounced Rashi, okay? Rashi is an acronym. Now, all the great rabbis, listen, all the great rabbis, all the great sages had acronyms. For instance, the great Maimonides, Rav Moshe ben Maimon or Rambam, Nachmanides, Ramban, Rav Moshe ben Nachman. Okay? I've even had a few people on the internet call me Ramek, Rav Moshe Kanachowski. So in respect and in honor, to honor me, Baruch Hashem Yahweh, they were calling me respectfully Ramek. So I said, whatever, leave me alone. Your neck, my neck, his neck. Ramek. So this rabbi in France in the year 1040, he lived his life 1040 to 1105. And then some of the later rabbis following the lead of who? Rashi. Now, understand, you cannot walk into a Jewish bookstore today and buy a Bible or a Chumash without Rashi. Okay, for instance, and I can pass this around. This little Bible here, which is the Torah, the 5 books of Moshe, has the comments of Rashi on the bottom. You would have to basically go around the world in 60 days to find a Bible in a Jewish bookstore that does not contain the commentaries of the hallowed and esteemed Rashi, which is the acronym that stands for Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, Rashi. Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, a French, middle-aged rabbi, not middle-aged, who lived in the Middle Ages. And he began to interpret Isaiah 53 in a new way, to disprove the fact that Yeshua, in fact, fulfilled Isaiah 53 to a T. Every dot, every tittle, he fulfilled to a T. But in order to begin a counter-error anti-missionary movement, he began to misinterpret and pervert the words of our forefathers, who with one accord interpreted Isaiah 53 as speaking not of the nation of Israel, but of the Mashiach. Amen. Am I boring you? Raise your hand if you're bored. Raise your hand if you're nuts, because if you're bored,